All right, we are ready to get started. Again, thank you everybody for joining us this evening or this morning, wherever you are. We are very excited to share what I'm going to call the new Brainingcamp and some of the things that you can do with Brainingcamp. And if you're new to Brainingcamp, those are the folks we really want to address tonight. So we're really looking forward, myself, Kara, and Ryan, to tonight's webinar. So here's a quick agenda. We're going to go through some introductions, just tell you a little bit about ourselves, where we come from, our backgrounds. We're going to look at, Ryan's going to talk us through or take us through some of the essentials of Brainingcamp, really help you get your feet wet, get yourself started. We'll look at some additional uses and some additional resources. And then Kara is going to lead us through a live session, which is going to be awesome. All right, so I'm going to start with myself because it's all about me. My name is Mark Schmidt. Again, thank you for attending tonight, today, this morning, wherever you may be. I am the Vice President of Education here at Brainingcamp. I was a middle school math teacher for 14 years, mainly dealing with 8th graders, obviously pre-Common Core, so, mile wide, inch deep. And 8th grade at that time really helped me be more creative with the curriculum. I was a manipulative user with my 8th graders, but we called them sense-making devices at that time because it got away from that stigma that these are for elementary kids. Since leaving the classroom, I've been in development for the last 23 years or so, whether that's working with state departments of education on their assessments, or whether it was product development with a hands-on learning company that was focused on hands-on experiential learning. I've been developing content for whether it's been core programs for major publishers or whether it's supplemental programs for supplemental publishers. And there you can see my contact information. All right, Kara.
So I love to follow Mark because my resume does not look like that, but I'm the customer success manager here at Brainingcamp. My heart is in teaching. So I was a taught pre-K and kinder and 3rd and 4th grades. And then I was a math specialist kind of coach, if we called it a specialist, but they're just a coach for a K through 5 campus. And then I went to the district level, and that's where I found Brainingcamp. And now I've been working here for a few years, and it is the best.
All right, thank you, Kara. And last but not least.
Yeah, well, my name is Ryan Doherty. I'm the director of sales here at Brainingcamp, and before that, I had a couple different roles, but my favorite two were the first two. I was an elementary school teacher where I taught everything from 1st grade through, it should be elementary middle, because I also taught up through 8th grade. And then,
sorry,
got to remember what I did. But then at one point in my career, I became the math coach for a school system outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, where I worked with 30 elementary schools and all their teachers, and worked with the State Department on writing assessments and writing curriculum or standards that we were going to adopt before Common Core came out. But in the last 8 years, I've been working at supplemental curriculum sales, either as physical manipulatives. I had a stint with hands-on science, but all of that led me to Brainingcamp. And like Kara, I can't be happier to be here. It's wonderful to be able to talk about math and manipulatives and how we can help you guys with that. So, all right. Introductions are over. Let's get into what you came to see. Let's talk about Brainingcamp. So my job today is to talk to you about a few of the basic essentials that you need to have when you're using Brainingcamp. If you're new to Brainingcamp, then obviously this is going to be all brand new. But if you've been using Brainingcamp before and you're here because you've noticed things have changed, that's kind of going to be my focus too, is to show you what has changed and how the new version works. And so first I'm going to show you how to get students access, because with all your trials and all your licenses, students are included. I want to show you some of the basics, and I'm going to use that by doing part, whole addition strategies across the grade levels. And I'm going to use just Cuisenaire rods to do that. And then while I'm doing it, I'm also going to show you how to make a share code. And share codes are important because you can create pages and share them with your students, or you can share them with fellow teachers or parents or us on, through social media, wherever. It's a great tool that you can do that. There are 2 links here. If you're watching this on video, you may not get the page, but there is a bit.ly/BC share, and that'll give you a link to a click sheet on how to do these share codes. And then there's a share code that I created, and I'll show you all that stuff that we can do that a little bit later. So if you want to write that down for later, you can. All right, so I'm going to share my screen if it allows me to. Here we go. All right, so you should be able to see my version of Brainingcamp. I've already signed in. And when you come into Brainingcamp, this is what you should be able to see. If you are not seeing these titles across the top, you are signed in as a student. The students get a slightly different version. They don't need the pricing and the webinars and all that stuff, but they should be able to see all of these manipulatives down here. First thing I told you I wanted to do was share with you how you can get your students access. So even in a trial, you have full access. You are allowed to have students join you. And to do that, if you go to the upper right-hand corner where it says accounts, you can click on that. If you're a teacher or a classroom account, you won't have the teacher one, but it'll say students. You just follow the online instructions. You hit start. This is saying that you make one username and password that you share with all your students. We don't want their information. We don't need their information. We don't track your students' work. We are physical, or we are virtual manipulatives that the kids can use. So just like the physical manipulatives don't track your students, neither do we. You create a single username and password. You hit submit. If it's unique, that's your kids. All your kids share the same one. Some kid comes in the middle of the year, you just share that information. You don't have to go back and add them. So it's really, really easy. All right. So when you are in Brainingcamp and you want to use any of our manipulatives here, we have 16 that you can choose from currently. There's more coming, but you just simply hover over it, click on the button, and it's going to open up the page. So I chose Cuisinart rods because I wanted to do a part whole model through kindergarten through about 5th, 6th grade. When you open it up, the first thing I want you to notice is that you have this huge white space that your kids can work. There's no ads. There's nothing on the side. There's nothing flashing, distracting your kids. They have all the space that they can work right here. On the left, we have our manipulative tray. You have an unlimited supply of manipulatives that you can just click and drag out and put them wherever you want on the page. And then those pieces can then be rearranged and move to wherever you need them to be. When they are on the screen, we consider these an object. And objects have tools built into them. So if I clicked on this green Cuisinart rod, I have a button that allows me to copy it. And I can copy more than one if I wanted to by grouping them and copying more than one. I can delete. I can, for this one, I can toggle the fill, turn it on and off. I can rotate it vertically, and I'm able to lock it in place so it can't be moved, which will come in handy as you're making pages. So again, you have an unlimited supply of them. One of the other nice features, if you bring one out, you can bring one out every time, or you just click and we'll add another one every single time you click. If you are a previous user of Brainingcamp, you've noticed too that we had tools along the bottom and up the side. Those have all been condensed into one spot here. So now our manipulative tray over here has 3 sections to it. The middle section allows us to do design features like adding text. So I can start by putting in a question or directions, and I can type those in however I want. I have some tools on the right-hand side that allow me to change font sizes, change the color if I want to make it look a little different. I can adjust this to be whatever I want it, whatever size, and then I can move it around to wherever I want it to be as well. One of the new features that came out last week, this is brand new and pretty exciting. This is a fraction bar. So if I wanted to add a fraction here, I could just click on this, say I need it to be 2. I need my denominator to be 8ths. And now I have a vertical fraction. We used to only be able to do horizontal fractions. So that's a great tool there. And again, it's an object, so I can edit it, I can delete it, copy it if I need to, change the color and all that stuff. These images down here, these are actually shapes that you can add, and you can change the color, and you can change the size, and you can do all that stuff as well, and make your page look a little bit nicer. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I want to get to this third column. So you have the manipulatives, you have your design features, and then you have your teacher tools. And these are available in every single manipulative. You see you have a 5 frame, a 10 frame, an array frame that you can move out and change to any size. I can just click these, drag them out. Now, in this example, I don't need a 10 frame for Cuisinart rods, but they're there if you need them to. But the one that I really love is now we have this number line. And that number line comes out, and it's an object, and it can be moved, it can be changed, it can be extended if I need it to be extended. I can turn my labels on and off if I want to do that. And I can even put it right here next to my pieces, and you see how it snaps in place so I can see the value of those pieces, right? That's really the important part over here on this tray, that you can now, does it do negative numbers? Let's find out. Yes, it does. That's the other thing, little tip. If you want to know, does it do something? Just try, click on some of the buttons, give it a shot, and it hopefully it does. If it doesn't, up here, send us some feedback, and it might in our next update. But all right, so I can toggle back and forth between any of those, and I can get back to my manipulatives here. I'm not going to spend much time on the bottom. This is a zoom in and out button, which allows me to give myself more space on the screen. And I have handlebars here that I can move this all over. I have a lot of space to do work. The one button that looks like a TV screen is a recentering button. So when I click on it, it recenters my screen for me. Can't see the bottom buttons we're using. Oh, let's see if I can change my screen up just a little bit. I don't know if that works, but again, pens and highlighters like before. And then the other thing is over here on the side, I have settings, and these are page settings. These will change the entire features of your page. So if I wanted to, instead of my Cuisinart rods come out vertical or horizontal, I can do vertical. And now when I bring them out, they're all in the vertical format. I can turn on grids and labels and do a whole bunch of different things with those. And then the last thing is workspaces, and we can change our workspaces. So, all right, I'm going to clear everything. I'm going to show you what I told you I was going to, part whole across the grade level using just Cuisinart rods. So if I was starting, I do not want them that way. I need them to be horizontal. If I was starting in my kindergarten class or a first grade class, maybe what I want to do is I want to just show what addition is. I can bring these pieces out, and I can ask the kids to use the Cuisinart rods that I have a part and a part. What would the whole be? So I'm going to say, use one rod to show the length of these two, right? All right, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to make it look a little bit bigger. Maybe I want it in purple. So I'll move that to right there. So this is the activity that I want to do. Now that I have the page the way I want it, what I can do is up here where it says share, I can click on this share button, and I have some options. And Carol will go over the live and everything else here, but the share code, when I click on that, it creates a code, an 8-letter number code, and I'm going to copy that and put it in the chat. So I can share this page with all of you. I can share it with another teacher down the hallway, my students. Anybody who has that code will be able to go in and get a copy of this page. To do that, all you have to do on the main page is right here where it says share code, enter in that code there, AXX PEQ T3. And then when I hit go, it brings me right back to that page. And all of you who did the same thing should be brought to this page. So you can use one rod to show the length of these two. So maybe you can put that there and say that that's 5. The kids can try that out. That's not enough, so that's not going to work. Can delete that. And it's this one here. We can show that it is part equals that whole. Now your students can do the same thing. They can share their page back with you, right? So they do the same thing. They hit share, they get a code, and they send that back to you. The one thing that I love using Cuisinart rods, but the hardest part was there was 10 of them and they had different values. And when I changed the values on the kids, they had to remember what all 10 of them were. But because we are a virtual tool, we can do things that physical ones can't. So down in the bottom where it says workspace, I can click on workspace and change it to a different setting. And I want to change it to whole numbers. And when I do, now all my pieces have values to them. So I'm going to bring out the 5 and I'm going to say, what are ways that you can break 5 apart? What are ways? To save time, I'm just going to have my directions there. What are ways that I can break 5 apart? Maybe I want to zoom in or center it. So it's right here in the screen. And then when I hit share, I get a new code and I share that with my students. They can then say, I have a 1 and a 4, that's part whole. I have a 2 and a 3, that's part whole. And they can go 3 and 2, 4 and 1, and build all the different variations that they have to get a 5. But a little bit different than before because now I actually have the number values on there. Another thing I could do is say 6 plus 3, or 6 plus 3 equals 9. Perfect. Kids can see that. We could say 3 plus something, or 3 plus what equals 5. Right? So the kids could then, if I wanted to, I think I could just turn the fill off, but I don't get the different, I don't get the value to go away. 3 plus 2 equals 5. But here's the one thing I wanted to show you that I thought was great. What if I did 8 plus 7? That's starting to, let me scroll that down, move this out of the way. If I did 8 plus 7, and if I had my physical Cuisinart rods, how are my kids going to show me that 8 plus 7 and what that equals? They would have to come up here and say 10. It's great because they can make a 10, and then I would have a 5, right? And they would show that. But again, because we are virtual, we can do things that you can't in physical ones. I could put this 11 one up here. And if you notice here, I have a little arrow that when I click on it, I can stretch it out just like I did my number line. And now I can have 8 plus 7 showing that it's 15. And then here I could say, well, that was a 10 and a 5. And I can make that connection as to how I had 15 and then a 10 and a 5. All right, just checking some other things. Last thing I want to show you is I'm going to use that same idea, but I'm going to go down to my workspace and I'm going to do fractions. So now notice all my pieces have turned into fractions and they're tenths. So I can say 3/10 plus 3/10 and 4/10 plus 5/10. And I can do the same thing and I can have the kids see what are ways you can break 6/10 into, how can you subdivide 6/10 into 2/10 plus 2/10 plus 2/10, right? So you can see all the different ways that we can do that part whole in tenths. Same thing here. If I had 8/10 plus 7/10, I still have this fractional or this adjustable one that when I change it will show me that it's 15/10. If I have to reduce that fraction because it's a fraction greater than 1, I could say that that is 1/10 or 1 whole, and I have 5/10 left over. Right? This would be wonderful. This is all if you could do that, but I know for a fact that you don't always have to add in tenths. You sometimes have to add in thirds, or sometimes you have to add in eighths or different fraction values. That's where these settings come in handy. I can click on the settings, and now I can I can select my whole, and I can say, well, I want thirds to be my whole, right? Or I want to do let's change it. We'll make the sixth whole, right? So now all my fractions are in sixths, and notice everything on the page has changed to this dark green rod being the whole. If I were to bring out that number line that's always on the page, that number line is in sixth because that's what the page is telling me I need it to be in. If I change it, and now I want the blue one to be whole, everything, including the number line, everything changes to this being the whole, right? So I can do simplified form and all these things in the settings. So really you have lots and lots and lots of options on how you can create pages. And then the best part is, like I said, once you have the page set up how you want it, you can go up here to share, click on the share code, create that code, and share it with everybody. So what I did, and Kara, if you wouldn't mind putting the code from the presentation on there, that I can't remember what it is, 24x something. What I did was I kind of created a code. I went and pre-made that part of the presentation, right? And then I made a share code, and it is 28x4xmc7. So if I went too fast and you want to come back to this, all you have to do is go to Brainingcamp, go up to share code, and then type in that code, hit go, and you'll be brought to the page that I kind of created for you, right? And I said, here's how you could do it with regular pieces, change the workspace, the whole number. I kind of walk you through it. Here's the number line, ways you can add 5, which rods complete the models, right? Change it to fractions. And anytime you type in that code, you will be brought back to this page. So, all right. Mark, I'm going to hand it off to you because I think we still need some time. It's about 6:30, so we got to let you do your next stuff.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Ryan.
Oh, thank you.
All right, let me get to my sharing my desktop. All right, so I'm gonna go fairly quickly because I want to get to the live stuff because it's amazing. So rhetorical question. How many of you have plenty of time and aren't looking for ways to save time? Rhetorical, totally. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. So what we've done is we've created some tasks for you to access with your license. So if you can see my screen, and I go to click on resources up here, and then click on tasks, and we have created 283 tasks for grades kindergarten through grade 8. And with each task, there are teacher notes, and then there is a share code for you to share with your students so they could begin to work. So we built these with teachers in mind. And if you remember, like, the last X number of years, I've been developing content, whether it be for hands-on learning, assessments, so forth, right? So that's one of the things that I really enjoy doing, or as part of my role here. So you see, these tasks are searchable. You can search by grade level. I'm going to go grade 4, and number and operations fractions. And then I want to take a look at decimal fractions. So I'm going to type in decimal. Look, I didn't even get it done. And you'll see this color me, which I think that's one of my favorites because it's got so many options. Here's the state standard down there for NF.C.5. And I click on this, and it opens up the teacher notes. These are downloadable. These are for you to have. You can share them. You can do whatever you like with them. These are there for our users. So each one has the same format. There's an objective here, understanding tenths and hundredths as equivalent fractions, a little bit of a description on what they're going to be doing. I move down here, we highlight a couple of math practices, those habits of mind, and how students are engaged within those. This one is built-in color tiles. We also give some other options if you want to, provide other alternatives for your students. All right. We give the share code. This is for you to provide to students. Give you a little image of the screen. And then we get really into the heart of it. We have the launch. Now, the launch is a way for you to kick this task off. It's not intended to steal the show from the task. Usually, it's some way to access prior knowledge. It might be within one of our applications, but it's a way for you to get students started so they have enough information so that they can begin that task. Then we move on to the core task itself. All right, here's a description of what kids are going to be doing. And we provide some questions. So as you're facilitating the learning, as kids are working, we want to give you some questions to really get their minds thinking, get them thinking a little bit about what the task at hand is, maybe to help get some kids unstuck. But we want to give you some guidance and some options for those to get kids started. We have this section, if you see this, try this. Again, we know students are going to have misconceptions. So we want to provide you with, hey, if you're seeing this misconception, try this. It might be within the application itself, or it might be something else that you could do as you sit down with the student. And then math talks. We've provided some questions for you so that you can have those questions to ask of kids so you can really get to what they were thinking, and you can get to maybe some real life application of the skill they just went through, or the task they just went through. And every task also has an extension, and that extension might be an extension of the content, taking it one step further, or it might be a reflective piece where you might ask kids to journal or write something about the activity or the task that they just completed. So those are all right there. I'm going to unclick some of these things just so you can see. It starts with grade K. Like I said, they're grade K through 8. We also have Spanish versions. The Spanish versions are the student-facing piece. So it's just like a crosswalk document. If this is the grade 1 English version, there's the student-facing Spanish version. And let me go to my other document and just let me show you what one of the Spanish versions looks like. Not that you couldn't imagine. Let me put the share code in for here. This will be the Spanish version of the Color Me. So you can see we've provided these in Spanish for your Spanish-speaking students because we know how diverse each of your classrooms are. All right. So that's the tasks that we have here that you have access to. Feel free to search them, download them. Oh, gracias. You're welcome, Jerome. I hope you use them and you find them valuable. One of the other things that I really like to think of is how else can you use these Brainingcamp applications besides just instruction? And so I started to really think about some of the routines, right? I mean, all of us who have a classroom or had a classroom, I mean, that's kind of how we survive, right? We have routines so that we can get started. So I was thinking of like number routines or like a notice and wonder routine. So I just wanted to share a couple uses of, whoops, and now it's not going to let me because I got the bullet point in there. Bear with me. There we go. All right, here we go. This one's in the 100 board, which part of the reason I wanted to share this is to show the versatility of our 100 board, because when I think of a 100 board, I think of a board numbered 1 through 100. But as you get in there and play around, you'll see we have options down here, lower right hand side, settings. I can have a number set of decimals or whole numbers, right? So I didn't want some of our, let's say, upper elementary folks to say, oh, 100 board, I can't use that because it's all whole numbers, right? So here's a quick routine, starting at 500ths, count by tenths, to 9500ths. What numbers will you say? What patterns might you see? Okay. I'm going to take a look at one more, and then I really want to get, I want to give Kara enough time because I think you're all going to be amazed when we get to the live session. All right, here's another one using Linking Cube, just a quick routine that we might share with kids, you know, as part of our classroom routine. Make a match, right? A little bit of subitizing here, right? And conservation of number. And you might be asking, well, how did I make, I mean, Ryan shared with us the 10 frames, right? And that those are in our instructional tools over here. But how did I make these? I just used these, what Ryan referred to them as those design tools, right? I took out a square with rounded edges. I brought out a circle, made it the size that I wanted it. You notice over here in the settings menu, I'll add some color, I'll add some fill, and there we go. And then I put it on top of that rounded rectangle to make it look like a card. So these are some of the things that, you know, as you explore and you I'm going to say you poke around, things that you'll discover and multiple uses for the Brainingcamp apps. It's not just for presenting content, but we could use it for some of those routines within our classroom. So I know I went fast, but I really wanted to make sure I gave Kara plenty of time. So Kara,
Thank you, Mark. Great job, guys. Those of you that are asking questions, you know, I'm seeing a lot of stuff in the chat about, oh, I love this, or I love this. You know, this is a great place to share those kind of things. So I love that we're seeing those. And so if you have ideas and you want to share them, you know, there's people all over the world watching this. So you really can share some things that you like with it as well.
Oh, Kara, your audio went. Looks like you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Was I muted that whole time?
A little bit, yeah. So you're good
Okay.
now.
Sorry, guys. I just was talking to myself then. So what I was saying is just that, like, the chat is filled with amazing things. I'm loving. Hey, I love this, and I you know, I use it for this, and I think that's just so powerful, especially when we're in a community like this right now, where we're all together and people from all over the world are seeing it. So I love the things that y'all are sharing. It's really kind of cool for me even to see too. And money, yes, that money will be coming. We are working on that as well. So let's go live. So we've talked about a little bit on just kind of the basics and the essentials. We've covered some routines and things that you can do. And we really wanted to show off our live feature. It allows us to monitor, assess, and provide feedback for every student and that you're working with, or you can even use it for PDs and things like that. It's just a really powerful feature that we have. You can go live two different ways. You can go from a blank screen, or you can go from a share code, a pre-made share code. So we were talking about these daily routines and things. So I'm going to kind of use a share code that we have created, that Ryan created, actually a daily puzzle routine. And I'm going to enter it here into this share code box, and I'm going to press go. So when I press go, now I'm in just my regular, area, regular manipulative area. To go live, you're going to press share. And you have four options here. One is to create the share code, which Ryan covered with you. But to go live, you're going to click live. And once you click live, it's going to kind of prompt you. It says your live session is ready. Do I want to start my live session? And in order to go live, you're going to, press start live session. If you noticed, it opened up another tab up here for me. So it kind of takes, so if I come here, this is where I just was. Once I go live, it will open up this new session for you. What I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to throw it in the chat. And this time I want you to join me. I want you to join me as a student so that you can also see how really cool these things are and how live is. And you can see from the student view. If you can kind of notice, I already have people joining. But just to show you, if you are a student, you enter this live code in the same place that you enter the share codes. So if you press go as a student, it's going to say, do you want to join the live session? And you say, yes, I want to join the live session. When you are here, this number is going to tell you the number that you entered. So I am entering number 15. 14 other people already entered before me. There are 2 characters here. I can change these. I can keep them the same. These are the identifying information that you're going to, that's how you're going to get in. Where did the place site box be? That'll be in your settings area, but I'll get back. I can show you that in a little bit. So here, if you want to change this for any reason, if you want to put initials, this is how they're going to be identifying. And if I press continue, now this is my student view. But let's go back to the teacher view. If you can look here at the bottom, this is all of you right now in here. So there's 33 people. So this is what I like to call my whole class bar. And as you see, it looks very much like what you're usually in. If I press this X, this is my screen on a normal basis. The only reason I know it's different is there's this live code at the top, and there's some information up here for me as well. This 35 here will tell me, it also brings up and down those thumbnails. And same with the X, you can pull that back up. But this tells me how many people I have here. This, again, whole class bar right here. I can send a message, whole class. So I'm just going to say, great job, just to give you an example. Great job should pop up on your screen. So here's my student view, and great job popped up. I'm going to just press X. I can create a PDF export where I can also show you that in just a little bit, but I can also lock all of your activity. So I want all of you to pay attention to me. So I'm going to say lock, and all of you should be frozen. This is a good way to say, hey, I need all eyes on me. I need y'all to listen to, my directions, or I can press unlock and you can begin to work again. This up arrow, so these are actually very small, and I can see people moving around. I can see this happening, but if I press this little up arrow, I now can see all of you working in real time. I will say you'll notice some of these are a little bit different sizes. This is because they are based on the screen that you're using. Now that we have the zoom in and the zoom out, and they're not fixed screens, they all look a little bit different. So that's why the ones are a little bit different. Like I can see this is probably a cell phone, right? But I'm able to see you working in real time. And I love to see this color and these things happening. I'm able to quickly just glance around. If I need to see it bigger, I can press this little 4 square, and now I can see the thumbnails even larger. And I can click that back off to see how many, or click it back on. So right now I have 43 people in here. It's working smoothly. There are apps, I think we've had up to 150 in here before. So you just have to, kind of see how many you start you're able to fit. When you are here, so we've talked about the whole class bar, and I've showed you the caret to show you how to get bigger. So the name of the student is not there, but the identifying information is. You have 2 characters here that identify that student. When you are here and you are, like I said, they're all moving. I also wanted to point out to you, this is what I called my whole class bar, but this is what I call my individual students. So if I would like to go through, this is going to give some feedback to individual students. And just to give you an idea, if I can find Here's BC. So I'm going to give BC 1. I'm going to just give a heart. And if I come to my student view, you can see that that's instant feedback. That student is seeing, I like what I'm seeing. They're getting some confidence built just by clicking an emoji. They're getting some fast and instant feedback. I can also send a message to just one student. I can also load just one student's screen. So if I would like to, I can press load, and thank you so much 00 for being my guinea pig. You are viewing 00's screen. So this is telling me this. As a teacher, I can give some more descriptive feedback by either using the text tool. I might give this a thumbs up, say congratulations, high five, whatever you would like to say, to give them some feedback. I could even say, try again over here. Don't forget this one. And then I'm going to push it back to them. It will only go back to them if I press push. And then I see 00 here. I'm going to push it just to them and press push. And now you can see that 00 has my feedback onto their screen as well. So now I'm going to press close. So I just showed you can send a message, you can load, you can push something to just one student. I can lock just one student. Maybe I say, I would like you to come up, I need to talk to you, or maybe I want to send you a private message. I also love that this person just raised their hand. If you notice here, y'all can all practice that if you'd like. 00 just raised their hand and they had put it back down. But if you go to the student view, so I can see green and yellow popping up here, you can, pick whatever you want for those meanings. We just made 3 different colors, but each teacher's a little bit different. The red might be, I have a question. Green might be, I'm doing okay, but I'd like you to check in with me because I do have, something that I would like to talk to you about. Yellow might be, I have to go, I'm out, stepped away from my screen for a minute because I had to go to the bathroom. I mean, it's up to you. This is your classroom. We just made 3, and you can make those 3 mean whatever you need for your classroom. I love that y'all, I just love how involved y'all are. Y'all are doing such a great job. I can really see y'all thinking through this task. So when I'm here, I can also remove you. That doesn't have to probably happen very often, but it is, if someone is writing bad words or things like that and you need to get them out very quickly, you are also able to remove them. That's never happened that I know of. Up here, so here's whole class bar and then your individual students. Up here, I can load a new share code. So this is something that I find really, really valuable and very cool about this. I'm in color tiles and I'm working with fractions. But if I wanted to show a different example and a different manipulative, all I have to do, sorry, my mouse got stuck, is grab a new share code. And I'm going to press load. When I press load, it says enter a share code to load. I'm going to put this new share code in, and I'm going to press open. It does give you a warning. It says this will replace your current manipulative. So I could do a bunch of different examples in color tiles and just have those share codes all ready to go to send out to my students. Or I can press open and have this new activity ready to go to share with you. If you'll notice, the thumbnails have not updated. So that's for 2 reasons. One, I might not want my kids to get this until I have explained it or had a chance to kind of go over it. So I didn't want to send it to you just quite yet. Also, I wanted to tell you that your screen is going to update and your other screen will be completely erased. So there's 2 ways to not startle a student. One, you're going to want to let them know, hey, this is going to be gone. But also, you as a teacher from my whole class bar can create a PDF export. Once I click on PDF export, you'll notice that it starts to, there it goes, download onto my computer. Once I click this and open it, it's going to give me every student's screen and thumbnail the moment that I pressed PDF export. So if you're wanting to save their work, if they're wanting to save their work, then you're able to do this. I can take this as a grade now. I have documentation. I can give this in an RTI meeting. I can give this to parents. I can put this out on my walls. I can make this into anchor charts. I mean, it's endless what you can do with these. I've even thought, man, if I was a teacher, I would cut this up and set out my groups the next day. Like, okay, this is my new group for the next day. These are who I'm going to meet for this. Everything. There's so many options here. Just to go over, here is your identifiable information. And then here's your live code and the day that you did it. Something that I noticed, if I can see this person that I saw earlier wrote their name on the screen, which I thought, now of course I'm not going to be able to find them, but that's another way. If the number is not enough for you, have your students, here's BC, have your students create a text box, drag it in the corner, say I want it in red so that I know it's you, or I know that's the name, and then they can write student name, and that's just part of something that they're going to do. So if the 2 characters are not enough for you, that's another option to do that. You can, put their name on there. And I was going to use that person's example, but I can't find it because there's so many of you participating, which I love. So that's the way to create the PDF export. Oh, there's Ryan. So he created his big thing. So here's something else you can do. If 243 is maybe either too high of a number, or maybe you would like to challenge something, you can add to the screen and push to different students. But for the sake of time, I'm going to push and I'm going to select all of you. When I select all, so what I did, I loaded the new one, and now I'm going to push it to you. It hasn't been pushed to you. I pressed push and select all. And now I'm going to push, and all of your screens will be updated to the new task. So now you can see I have this new task and I'm ready to go with my new task. And it's even actually in a different manipulative. So I can show something with multiple representations. I can show one concept with place value blocks and color tiles, whatever I need to show. That way students are seeing those multiple representations. So just for an example, again, I can see good job, Taylor. I can see they wrote their name on their screen. So I'm able to see who that is. Once I have here, this is like just I know where a lot of us are teaching place value right now. You can write the standard form of a number, the base 10. You have 2 10s and 4, you have 2 hundreds and 4 10s and 3 1s. They can use word form and they can write it with a text tool or a pen tool. The options are endless. And just like when Ryan showed you how to create the share code, each time you create a share code, it's going to save everything in each workspace. So if I come to place value, I want them to show a number that is equivalent to 243 or another number and write the number in a different way. And then they can go to addition or subtraction, and they can kind of work through all of these tasks that you have set up for them. So I'm going to pop that back up. Again, all I do to get this thumbnail back is to press the number of participants, and that will bring up the thumbnails again. So I can see that, I can see the kids working at different rates. So let's kind of just look again, get some bigger images here. I see someone's working on addition, someone's working on the place value chart, and it just looks great. I'm just so excited about all the things that I'm seeing, and but it's in, I can create another PDF export. So something else I love about this is I can watch their progression through the sorry, my daughter just walked in. I can do the progression through the lesson. I can see how they progressed and how they were able to get better. When you exit, something I just want to show you just real quick. When I exit this, as a teacher, I have to leave. But my students, I'm going to go ahead and end the session. But my students can continue working. Notice this is my student page. The student can continue working. And if I press share, now I've completed my work. I can copy an image and place it where my teacher has asked me to, so that they are not disrupted and having to end when you end your session. And that is live.